Kenny here with Gardening Simplified. It's February 19th and it's cold outside. We got our grow station going and we're going to talk about planting sweet potato slips. So let's get into it. All right. Now, first thing we need to do is talk about sweet potatoes. You cannot throw this sweet potato in the ground and expect to get any sweet potatoes. That's not how the plants reproduce. Now, what we're going to do is, and you can see on this one, it's starting to put a little sprout out right there. I've got a few of them that's trying to sprout. I picked a few of them out. I've got more right here to fill this up. Now, these here are Stokes Purples. If you haven't had Stokes Purple, it's a good flavored sweet potato. Some say it's not quite as sweet. For me, it's plenty sweet. But we're going to talk about how do we get the plants so we can have sweet potatoes. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to actually plant this sweet potato. And what we're doing is growing sweet potato slips. Now you can buy them. And all we're going to do, and if we have a place that's growing, we're going to make sure that the growing side's up. That way it can come out first. Now I put about an inch or so of pre-moistened mix in here. Now this is my normal mix, a third compost, a third peat moss, and a third perlite. And this always works good for me. You can use just any pot mix. I do recommend organic. That way you don't have any of the chemical fertilizers and stuff in there. And you won't need any fertilizer for this to grow these. You'll just need to put them in there. Now I did when I moisten and do pre-moisten. And if you have it a little bit oversaturated to where you can squeeze out some water, that's fine. Now what I do is I just use a container and I take a trash bag, heavy duty trash bag, and I lay out in here so it can keep everything nice and leak free, because I don't want water running all over if I have these inside. Now once these start to germinate and come up, what I do normally is I take my pocket knife through the slits in the bottom of here and just cut holes so any extra water can drain out. I don't recommend growing slips in a jar. You'll see so many videos that way. When you grow slips in a jar, the sweet potato put on roots, but the slips don't put on roots. And then they say, well, then you can put the slips in the jar, let them set till they get roots. And then what you've got is a slip that's used to being in a bunch of water. And when you go to put it out, it has a hard time surviving. Now this method here, and I have done it different ways. You can use a pot. One year I had sweet potatoes growing so strong, come time for planting, I took and just broke the slips off and put them in a pot of soil and let them sprout that way. But this is my normal method I've been doing for years. I just get my sweet potatoes and I just lay them in here. And you don't need a whole bunch to get slips. Now, one of these Stokes Purples will probably put on more slips than the average person would want. You might even want to give some to your friends. But you might want to plant two if they're not sprouting. That way you get better chance of coming on. Some of these are really sprouting heavy, and they'll come up quick. But a Stokes Purple puts out a whole lot of shoots. Now, some of the other sweet potatoes don't do as well. So you might want more than one. Of course, depends on how much you like sweet potatoes. But all I'm going to do is lay these in here. I don't try to have them touch or anything. I just take and go around and lay them out. Now, these sweet potatoes I have here actually are starting to grow. I picked them out of the ones that we were eating. And better not forget this one. And these other ones that I have here, these were kind of culls last year. You could eat them, but it just takes a lot to peel a sweet potato, or you don't have much of one. But they're still good. But what I did was I culled them out. just put them in a basket and left them outside. Now these, a few of them had started to sprout, but most of them didn't. And we're just going to layer a bunch of these. Now this is way more than I'm going to need. I'll probably go ahead and take some to the farmer's market again this year. We're going to take probably the best. Now they don't have to be big. As you can see, these are small, but these will put on slips. Some will grow faster than others. I'll end up with more slips than I want. And I'll be saying, stop growing, stop growing. Now this one here, this sweet potato is soft. We don't want to plant that. If there's any soft spots on it, it's going to have some kind of rot, and there's no sense in wasting time planting it because chances it's going to rot before it sprouts. But anyway, I think we got a good bit here. Now with this method, and a lot of people just set them on here and they water them, but you have the same problem as if you sprout them in a glass of water. What you end up with is your slips aren't growing in the dirt, so the roots aren't used to dirt. And so what happens is, and I'm just going to cover these, what happens when these come up, the part that's touching the dirt that come off of the sweet potato will start putting out roots. So by the time you're finished, you'll have slips that are going to want to grow right away. You're not going to have to put them in the ground. You still have to water them, but you're not going to have to worry about them just about dying and drying up, and then end up coming back and in a few weeks, and they'll start growing. You'll have them growing right off the bat. And if you do this with the trash bag, if for some reason you need to do that much, make sure that your bag is up, because if you fold it over to where the edge isn't up, even though it's sticking out, but for instance, if this end was laid down, what it's going to do is leak water out. You're going to defeat your purpose. But anyway, that's it. Now, I do have other videos on growing sweet potatoes. I try to do this every year, encourage people to grow more things. And if you haven't grown your own sweet potatoes, this is ideal. Now, whenever I get ready to plant, I'm going to talk about them some more, things that you can do to get higher production off them. But for right now, we're going to set on the process, and this is the process. You'll have really good slips whenever it comes time to plant. And like I say, you don't have to plant this big a container. If you have a 2-gallon pot, that's ideal. You can put 2-3 sweet potatoes in there and start them growing. Now, I start my sweet potatoes, for those that wonders when, I start my sweet potatoes when I plant my potatoes. Now, sweet potatoes like warm weather. So if you put them in the ground real early, they will have a better chance of establishing, but you might have to weed a little bit more because their growth won't be real fast. Once the heat starts, the sweet potatoes are really going to take off and grow. But anyway, we'll come back to this later. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that you'll be planting sweet potatoes. Let me know if you're going to plant sweet potatoes or if you've grown them before. If you have a method that works better, well, of course, let everyone know. There's a lot of ways to do this, but for me, this is the proven way for the best slips to come off. Now we'll take a look at this other one. And this here, when we went to dig our Covingtons, we found out last year we had a break in the line, so the potatoes didn't do too good. These were like finger size. So we went ahead, the ones we dug, I put them in a pot. And I said I'll let them grow on till this year. Now, they're not looking real healthy. They've been out in the greenhouse. It's been really cold out there. I'm going to take off this yellow leaf. Ain't no sense in leaving it. Anyway, what I'm going to do here is, now I have one place here. You can see this limb has died. This did get a little bit of a freeze during one of our cold spells. And we've got another little bit here. We're going to go ahead and cut this off. But what my plans are is, and I'll tell you a little secret about sweet potatoes. Now I'm going to take and I'm going to plant these. They are rooted, but I'm going to plant these sections in the ground. And each one of these nodes here, each one of these joints where there's a leaf, is going to sprout. So what that's going to do is that's going to give me a lot more slips, because these potatoes, I kind of left the green on them and just grew them. And so they're growing more like they would if they was in the ground, not like if they was harvested and planted back. But anyway, this is another way. And if you want to start your sweet potatoes really early, you can do this. And as you can see, this makes a real nice house plant. So you could actually grow this inside and have it for a nice oxygen maker in the house during the winter, and then take the slips and plant them out in the springtime. Anyway, if you're not a subscriber, you want to see more content like this, of course, hit that subscribe, hit the bell, select all. Give it a big thumbs up and share this video. Enjoy that gardening experience.